at the outset of COVID, when we there was a great amount of uncertainty. No one had any kind of what does this pandemic mean? You know, when we had our first case, it was like that was trauma for everybody. The first case, because there was so much, there was very little information on this virus, and the possible impact of it. What we knew, it was highly contagious, and that it could be mortal.
Yeah.
So that was, some of the information that we had. So the world was grappling with how to contend with COVID. But from a private sector perspective and from a Jamaica perspective, we knew that we had to figure out how do we keep the private sector at work while protecting our workforce, while protecting the consumers of private sector goods and services. So we had to then figure out how do we now keep the wheels of the economy turning, and how do we keep the private sector at work. So immediately there was a lockdown in Jamaica. We all recall that there was a lockdown, and to get out of a lockdown you had to figure out how do you know what kind of best practices do you put in place in the workplace to continue so that you can get back to work. So we've formed a small group coming out of, from a private sector perspective, to work through what were the protocols, what was occurring internationally, what seemed to be the best practices, and then we were now to figure out sector by sector what kind of workplace protocols could be introduced so people could get back to work. Immediately though after the pandemic, we were working in partnership with the Ministry of Health and Wellness, getting information out to the nation, because initially there was even PSOJ's branding was even on the Ministry of Health and Wellness information that was going out, and we were working together closely with the Ministry of Health and Wellness. That relation continued throughout the pandemic. Now, how the PSOJ has positioned itself and ourselves is that we are partners, we are constructive partners. While we have to be objective, and while we can be advocates, and while we can call out where we see something not occurring the way that we believe it should occur in the best interest of Jamaica, firstly, and then the private sector, we have the right to call it out. But we have to engage in constructive engagement with whichever partners, private sector or public sector, to work towards solutions. That's how we see it, right? That is the modus operandi. So it's not just about getting up and calling out and making noise. It's about constructive engagement to deliver action, to deliver solutions. The first thing people look at is what is going to occur with my bottom line, what is going to occur with my workforce, what am I going to do with my workforce, my employees, right? And how am I going to manage through this pandemic? So we even engaged, so one, we developed protocols. Then we engaged the JBA to now work through the Jamaica Bankers Association, because we're at the end, as the lockdown took place, then businesses' cash flows were disrupted, businesses disrupted. How are they going to continue to manage through their commitments, their obligations to the commercial banks? So then we sat with the JBA, and we worked through with the JBA in terms of what that program could look like in terms of moratoriums, working capital, providing working capital, an extension of facilities. And then we got alignment with the JBA and the Bank of Jamaica, and we were able to work through. But so we were active partner in those discussions also, because the businesses needed a breathing room, and we were there to kind of facilitate. We did that also for the GHDA, because tourism was the hardest hit. So we sat with the tourism interests and the GHDA and the JBA, and we mediated that meeting to make sure that everybody could understand everybody was going. What we're able to establish though is that, we're that a time frame, because we did not see recovery out until the next winter season, which was this winter season just passed, which was weak. But we were projecting recovery for that winter season because we said, yes, man, the pandemic will be behind us by then, right? However, we had to re-engage in the year when we all, as the globe and the country, got more information around how long this thing could extend. You know what I mean? Because we had more information, we knew about vaccines under development, and we knew about how to manage the spread of the virus. We were learning as a world and as a country how to manage the virus. And the government of Jamaica's mantra, balancing lives and livelihoods. That was constantly seeking to find that balance, right? So 1, we had to develop protocols. 2, we had to ensure that the private sector had a breathing room in terms of their banking relationships. And 3, we had to take care of the vulnerable. We had to take care of the vulnerable, and this actually came out of a past president, Howard Mitchell, saying to the Ministry of Health and Wellness would like to see how they can protect the over 65s because they are the most vulnerable. So, he was trying to see how we could, develop a relationship, and we spoke, and then, and I thought about it a little bit, and I actually called the CEO of the Joan Duncan Foundation, and I said, I need somebody who can help wrap our head around this problem that we're having, right? And I was referred to my very good friend now, Saffron Brown, and we knocked heads, and then we were able to build this out in partnership, right? Build out the PSOJ COVID-19 Jamaica Response Fund, which we were able to raise $200 million in cash and kind to focus on vulnerable communities. First of all, the vulnerable, those over 65 and more vulnerable communities that needed the help, marginalized, those that really were living from hand to mouth, and this lockdown would have disrupted in a significant way. Another area that we focused on was digitization, and was creating, and how do we get our small and medium enterprises, move them up the digital maturity curve, right? So we have a small business group at the PSOJ called the PSOJ Access to Finance Facilitation Panel. And we focus on, firstly, was the economic recovery, and we had a conference called Crossing the Chasm around how do we emerge from this crisis. And we had all the stakeholders there, and it was more of a workshop, working session type thing that would have thrown out solutions. One of those solutions was technology bundles for small and medium enterprises, right? So therefore, we got small and medium technology entities, and we created technology bundles for small and medium enterprises, like so them get internet, them, what is it that how do you do business through your website? How do you, get your e-commerce up and running? Because this is a new way of doing business. So we had to create technology bundles, and we worked along with the Development Bank of Jamaica, right, to ensure that they would fund these technology bundles, right, $200,000 of funding of these technology bundles for small and medium enterprises. And then you would have seen that the minister has expanded that in his budget presentation, where they will lend additional $800,000 to these entities to grow their businesses and using these technology solutions, right? So we need to digitize our economy. We need to digitize our private sector to get more efficient, more productive as a country. And we need also, So we need to also get our government connected and digitized, so that the way we do business in Jamaica has to be more digital, and I think there is a real effort in that regard.